Sure.
Okay, fine. So, good evening, everyone. It's happy to see you all in this meet. Thanks for joining us today. And here we have our guest Amogh Gopadi. So he's a freelance developer, or I mean Web3 developer and deep learning. So he's right now creating a mobile friendly, user friendly mobile application for related to blockchain. So that is which is based on DESO blockchain. So he's also setting up a decentralized autonomous organization to empower and educate people all over the India about DESO, so which is decentralized social media. Social media. So thanks for his interest. Like he accepted our invite and he was presenting today. So thanks for that. Thanks for accepting our invite, Amog. So over to you. You can start now.
Awesome. Definitely. Thank you so much as well, Gopal Swami. It's definitely my pleasure to be here today. So before starting out, just a quick check. Can you hear me and see me properly?
Yeah, we can.
Awesome. Sure, then. I'll just start off with my introduction itself. So I am software developer experienced in the fields of Web 3.0 and deep learning. So I've worked on multiple projects ranging from websites, NFTs to full-fledged applications where I've built facial recognition systems and automatic speech recognizers as well. Right, but one of my major personal project right now is a user-friendly mobile app called as Postan, short for Post to Earn, where people can earn crypto just by posting and connecting with others. So it's built on top of the DESO blockchain. So that is what I'm going to speak about specifically today, decentralized social media as such. But my app is live on the Play Store, the Google Play Store, and you can check it out if possible, right? And for this very purpose, I'm also setting up a decentralized autonomous organization where we want to empower and educate people about DESO so that we can truly decentralize social media. So that is about my introduction. But I'll just give you a brief and how I jumped into Web 3.0 and what made me go there and things, right? So I'll start off with my background and transition to Web 3.0 as such in the first. So I hold a bachelor's of computer science from RV College of Engineering, Bangalore. And just to go back, in November 2016 was when I got to know about Bitcoin in the first place because of a peer group in college. So it was one of my seniors who started this group where he wanted to help people understand about crypto and grow the ecosystem back then, right? So that was how I jumped into crypto. Like one of my friends introduced me into that group and reading, like we used to read the white papers of Bitcoin, Ethereum. Like Ethereum had just come out back then in 2016. So we used to read that. And when I first read the white paper of Bitcoin, it was just magical for me. So that was the moment when I actually entered into this ecosystem, and I've never turned back ever since. So for anybody who would like to start off in the Web3 ecosystem, I would definitely urge them to read the Bitcoin white paper itself. Or if you don't want, like if you don't have the time to do those things, like just a quick search on YouTube asking for the Bitcoin white paper will throw multiple results, like a 5 to 10 minute video, right? And if you just go through that, you'll get to know a lot more about this ecosystem. So that was how I got in as well. So then it was the typical boom of the ICO boom of 2017, where I got involved in multiple activities related to trading, investing, and multiple more. And all of the community, that is crypto communities back then were in Telegram. So I used to help people handle them and got involved with a lot of them. So that was my jump into the ecosystem with respect to trading, investing, and managing things. But then the ICO bubble just burst out in 2018, and most of these groups became dead. But there was another popular frenzy that was popping up. That is the NFT boom itself, where CryptoKitties and CryptoPunks had just come out, and Ethereum had incorporated the ERC 2000 point. of time where there were a lot of gigs for building websites and creating NFTs and related things. So that was the point when I first made my jump as a freelancer and started working with these projects simultaneously, right? Which I do even today. And it was during 2021. So fast forward from there, it was during 2021 because of one of my clients that I got to know about DESO specifically, right? So it was the same initial rush and motivation. Like I will explain about DESO in a few moments, but just to give my background and things there, it was the same initial motivation and rush that I had from the Bitcoin after reading the Bitcoin white paper itself, right? I will share with you the DESO documentation as well on the chat of the Zoom meeting. Maybe if you have time, please do check that out. And I started making posts there called diamonds investments from a lot of people in the ecosystem. And it was in October 2021 as a side project that I started developing this app called as Postan, specifically where people can earn crypto just by posting and connecting with others. And my main target audience for that was the 18 to 24-year-old college going students who are chronic social media users and spend a lot of time on social media, but they earn nothing in return, right? So I started developing that project for this very purpose, and it was built in React Native. And yeah, the code is open sourced as well. You can check it out on my GitHub. And yeah, moving on, after 6 months, I got a lot of learnings from this project, and there are about 300 downloads today with 100 plus active users in the ecosystem. But yeah, there are multiple learnings with respect to it, which I will share throughout the meeting. But now coming to the topic of decentralized social media itself. So before diving into the DESO protocol specifically, I would like to talk about decentralized social media in broad, right? Because this landscape is just heating up today, and there are no big entrants or big incumbents as such, but there are a lot of players who want to capitalize on this market. And this is just like the ICO boom or the NFT boom, right? So I would definitely I like it's just my personal opinion, but I think the next boom for crypto will definitely come from the space of decentralized social media or decentralized autonomous organizations as such. So just to give you a brief about this space, social media today is broken, right? The reason I say this is because all of the content that we see today or the data that we share online is owned by a few companies, and they essentially monopolize that, right? These big tech monopolies or these mega corporations earn in billions of dollars of revenue, but how much do they give back to the users, right? It's absolutely nothing. So just to elaborate more there, the average Indian user spends about 2 to 3 hours on social media every day, and they are the main source of revenue for these big tech monopolies. But these companies just severely exploit them, and they're super undervalued in the sense the community is not at all valued by these big tech monopolies. And the reason I say this is because of two significant issues, and the first among them is centralization itself. So to explain this problem more clearly, I'll just give you another analogy here. So just imagine there are just three restaurants in the world, and that is Facebook. Sorry, three restaurants are McDonald's, KFC, and Burger King. And now imagine these restaurants control the entire food supply. So what will effectively happen is, like, if you want to eat anything, you just have to buy from only these three big players, right? That would be devastating or absolutely disgusting, right? But this is not the case with the current food industry, but that is effectively the case with the current social media landscape. The reason I gave this analogy is because people understand the impact or the problem far better when I give this analogy to them, right? So just to come back to the problem itself. So there are just 3 to 5 companies that effectively control the entire social media landscape. That is Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. and they again control what we see or what we share online, right? And like there are multiple problems because of this. Maybe if you check out this documentary on Netflix called as Social Dilemma, you will get to know a far better picture on what happens when you, like, how these big tech monopolies are trying to get more revenue or keep the users on their platform. So do check out this documentary called as Social Dilemma on Netflix. But just to give a brief again here, like they essentially control our behaviors because of their algorithms as well. So that is one of the biggest problems that I can tell you about at this point of time. So this was with respect to the first issue, that is centralization itself. Now moving on to the second issue that is there, it is the lack of ownership, right? So to explain more about this problem, so the current social media landscape again utilizes something known as the ads-driven business model, right? And the main flaw in this model is that people, like, these apps do not pay a single rupee back to the users, or the people who spend so much time on these applications or post content on these applications. But effectively, these big tech monopolies make billions of dollars in revenue. And the disconnect is because these big tech monopolies control all of the ownership, and the users or the community has effectively zero ownership. So that is where the disconnect is coming from. So just to elaborate this problem more clearly. So this is with respect to the revenue part, but just to elaborate here, there is this actor called as Kangana Ranaut, who is famous in Bollywood as such, and she was blocked on Twitter, right? But then she had to move to another platform called as Koo. So Koo is the Indian microblogging platform. But then when she had to move from Twitter to Koo, she lost all her data and all her audience, right? And she had to build the audience on Koo from scratch. So the problem that I'm trying to tell is this, like, even when you are the true owner of your data and you are the person who actually put a lot of effort to build your audience, at any point of time in the future, if at all you're blocked on the platform, then all of your hard work and all of your efforts are lost in a fraction of a second, right? It's just gone. So this is the other problem with respect to the lack of ownership itself. So those were the two issues. Like there are multiple other issues, but these are the two big issues that the social media landscape today faces. So what is the solution for this problem is decentralizing social media itself, right? So there is no specific definition as such for decentralized social media, but just to give you a brief on that part, it's a blockchain based, like, decentralized social media is a blockchain based ecosystem where there is sufficient decentralization that people truly own their data and their content. So that is what I feel is the definition for decentralized social media. So now moving on to the core features of decentralized social media itself, I would say the first feature is definitely decentralization itself, right? Where there shouldn't be one single point for accumulation of power, and no single point for dictating the rules as such, because that is what is happening in the current landscape, where the entire power is monopolized in these 3 to 5 companies, and they can effectively dictate whatever rules and regulations they want. So if we achieve this one single core feature of decentralization, we can achieve multiple, like we can sort out multiple other problems like free speech, censorship resistance, or ownership, and others as well, right? So that is with respect to the first feature of decentralization. And the second feature would be to take care of the first feature itself, that is decentralization, because again, there will arise a lot of problems on the grounds of privacy, security, scalability, and many more, right? So if you take care of the associated problems that rise give when you focus on this core feature of decentralization, that would be the other core feature for decentralizing social media. So these are just the two core features that I think should be taken care for decentralizing social media. Now, to talk about the current landscape for decentralized social media, there are multiple players. So, DESO protocol is one of them. So, DESO is short for decentralized social. So, that is one player there. Then there is Lens protocol, which is being built on top of Polygon. Like if you've heard of Polygon, it's a layer two ecosystem built on Ethereum. And then there is Farcaster, which is another interesting protocol that is popping up. Like they raised a huge seed round in December, but their version two is going to come in maybe another week or so. So that is another protocol that is popping up, which is Farcaster. And there are multiple other protocols which have been there since 2018 or so. Like there was something known as Steemit, and then there is Hive, and multiple other protocols. But there are different vectors on which they are decentralized, and there were problems that arose on Steemit because of which a group of people had to move to Hive and other things. So these are some of the major players, that is DESO protocol, Lens protocol, Farcaster, Steemit, Hive, and so on. Right. So now I'll be talking about, like, I'll touch on Lens protocol as well, which I'm familiar with. But my main focus today will be on the DESO protocol itself, and that is my uh, like that is where I've built my product as well because of multiple advantages that it has. So just to get into the DESO protocol specifically, so DESO is short for decentralized social, right? DESO, decentralized social, which is a layer one blockchain specifically built for social media applications, because the current blockchain systems like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana cannot handle the scale required for the social media applications as such, right? I'm not sure how knowledgeable people in the audience are about the current blockchain systems like Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum. But I'll just give a brief on the top layer. Maybe if you wanna get a deep dive, please do. Like we have a question answer session at the end, right? So if you want anything related in depth, please do ask questions so that I can answer that specifically. But just to give in brief, so I'll give an analogy here as well. So Facebook has a far different backend architecture than the New York Stock Exchange, right? Because the New York Stock Exchange is where money is transacted, right? They just have to note down the change in balances, and that is how they build their architecture. So they want to handle the scale of change in the balances and money itself as such. But on Facebook, it's a far different architecture because they have to store likes, they have to store comments, they have to store posts, and multiple other things that one single user does, right? So if I am a social media user, I will do a lot of transactions. Like I will give likes, I will make posts, I will comment on other people's posts, and all of this has to be stored on the blockchain, right? So like the Bitcoin and Ethereum or Solana is built for general purpose applications where they just want to scale that blockchain specifically for decentralized finance applications. But then decentralized social media has a far different architecture, and it is very data intensive, right? So DESO is the only protocol that can handle the scale of social media architectures because the blockchain is specifically built for this purpose. So there are certain techniques that they have used through which they can handle the scale and support decentralized social media as such, right? So this was just a very brief analogy for people to get or understand what DSO is trying to do specifically. But if you want the techniques in depth, please do ask questions on. Yes, so there is one question, and I will answer that at the end of this session. So please do ask questions in the chat box so that I can answer that effectively at the end, right? So just to come back into the DESO protocol itself. So there is one core team which is working on the blockchain part specifically, and there are hundreds of independent apps being built on top of this blockchain for different purposes, right? So all of these apps are not being built by the core team itself. It's being built by independent developers for different purposes. So just to elaborate more, there is one app called as Diamond app, which is like a decentralized Twitter kind of node. And then there is a DESOFi, which is the most prominent mobile application for DESO. And other apps are DAO, where you can raise money on the internet for any idea that you may have. And I'm particularly super excited about DAO because it's DAO. Maybe you can check it out on Google itself. It's DAO.io, right? You can raise money on the internet for any idea that you may have. And if it effectively mixes social applications with financial use cases. So it's kind of pretty interesting. Maybe if you want in-depth or a better version, like if you want to get in depth into that, I will share the link on the Zoom chat box as well. And the other application is Pearl, which is like a decentralized Instagram kind of application, right? So just to explain the ecosystem again, so even when all of these apps use the same DESO blockchain, they are still separate and they cater to different audiences, right? So any content that is posted from one of these apps goes across the entire ecosystem of apps. So just to give you an analogy with the Web2 stack here. So let's say Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn came together and shared one single place to store all their data. Right now, whenever somebody makes a post on Facebook, it goes across the entire ecosystem of apps, right? It goes on LinkedIn, it goes on Facebook, or it goes on Instagram, and so that is how the DESO blockchain is built. So there is one single blockchain, a lot of people developing for different purposes, but they store all the data here. Like you could effectively decentralize on different verticals. Like you can store all the data that is being pushed from one app on the blockchain, or you could store different levels at which you want to decentralize. But then this app, like any other app being built on top of this blockchain, can utilize the data being pushed by other apps as well, right? So what DESO is effectively trying to do is build the network effect directly into the blockchain rather than the different apps being built on top of it. Because again, going back to the problems that I mentioned in the first case, right? People cannot leave the current social media systems because the current social media systems have all their data and all their friends are there as well. And then moving from one app to another app is super difficult because the current social media systems do not allow that, right? Because that is how they generate revenue and things. So DSO is effectively trying to decentralize that ecosystem where they want to build the network effects into the blockchain, and different apps built on top of it can cater to different audiences, right? So that is with respect to the DESO protocol as such. But this was just to help you understand more about the ecosystem in depth. But like if I had to give you another perspective to this, like from the users and creators perspective, there are multiple ways through which you can earn on the DESO ecosystem right from day one without any investments or conditions, right? So you just have to post and you just have to connect with others and you can start earning effectively on day one itself. To be very specific about the ways, there is something known as diamonds, where whenever you make a post on the platform, people can give you something known as diamonds, right? And the concept of diamonds work very similar to likes. And the more diamonds you get on your post, the more earnings you will make. And then there is something known as creator coins that people will be able to invest in your account, and a part of that investment will directly come to your wallet. And the next is something called as NFTs, where you can create NFTs in two easy steps. Maybe if you want to check it out, please go to diamondapp.com, and then you can easily create NFTs. Like for the people who have already played around with NFTs in other ecosystems, obviously this is like the best and easiest way through which you can create NFTs, right? So these are the three typical ways through which you can start earning on DSO on day one without any investments and conditions, right? So that is with respect to the there is another question asked. I will answer that question as well. So yes, this was with respect to the users and creators perspective. And moving on, also DSO has one of the best onboarding processes, right? If you want it, like it'll take you hardly 2 to 3 minutes to jump into the ecosystem itself, right? You can go to the Play Store. It's called DESO. Do check out that app. So once you get in there, you can start posting. Like it just throws you your seed phrase. You don't have to give your name or any other information. It'll just give you something known as the seed phrase, which is just like the password for your account. So please do store that seed phrase very safely, because if you lose that seed phrase, you will not be able to get in, like you will not be able to recover your account at any point of time in the future, right? So after you store your seed phrase, you will be asked to set a username. Like you don't have to reveal yourself if you don't want to. And after you set the username, you're effectively into the ecosystem, and a wallet will be directly integrated. It's super easy, right? Because once you get your seed phrase, you will get your publicly created, and you can start posting on that. And whenever somebody gives you diamonds, creator coins, or NFTs and other things, it's just hitting that publicly. So you can check out this app called as DESOFI. It's DESOFY on the Play Store to easily start into the DESO ecosystem, right? So that was with respect to the users and creators perspective as such. But now coming to the builders perspective. So running nodes on DESO will cost you about $100 or so, because the configuration required is 32 GB RAM with 120 GB, 128 GB HDD, right? So with that configuration, you can start running nodes. And DESO has a far different architecture than Ethereum and other protocols as well, right? The reason I say this is obviously you will have to have miners who will mine the block and put it on the blockchain. But what DESO is effectively trying to push forward is running your own nodes itself, because that is how you can actually decentralize the landscape, right? Because the more number of people, like node operators are different than miners and such. So don't confuse miners. So this explanation is only for the builders here. So node operators are different than miners, uh, because like node operators are the one who will be building apps which are then being used by different users, right? So what DESO wants to try is push out more node operators such that it can decentralize the data into multiple different nodes, and this is how it wants to decentralize social media. So once these node operators run their own nodes and build different apps on top of it, that is when these nodes will be pushed into the ecosystem, that is the DESO blockchain, and miners can add that, like through the other processes which Bitcoin follows as well, like proof of stake and things like Bitcoin follows proof of work, but DESO is trying to follow proof of stake, and that is how they want to add the blocks into the blockchain, right? So that is one thing, and people don't even have to know about smart contracts or Solidity or Rust and other things to start developing on DESO, because you will have these Docker images for running these nodes, and you can run your own node with the configuration that I mentioned, and it's just effectively building a front end for this node, right? So all of the Docker image points will have the REST APIs that you can connect with, and you just have to hit this node with respect to the different transactions. So DESO has 10 different types of transactions in on the blockchain specific part. That is likes, comments, posts, diamonds, creator coins, and multiple other things. Right. So it's just 10 different transactions, and you can maybe change around with the front end that you want for different purposes. So just to give you an example, you could build a LinkedIn type of node for professionals only, or you could build an Instagram kind of node where you want to show people about the ideal life that they have, or a Facebook kind of node where you just want to connect with friends. And you can have the concept of diamonds, creator coins, or multiple other things in multiple different ways that you want, right? So that is what DSO is trying to do. And yes, another question just popped up. So that is with respect to the building ecosystem as such. But you don't have to run your own node as such. Like you can use the core's end node point as well. And if you want to start developing as easily as possible, I would definitely urge you to go to this website called as hub.deso.org. Right? It's hub.deso.org. So that is the best place through which you can start building applications on top of DSO. You just have to know the front end stack, like let's say React or React Native, like I've built it on React Native, or Angular and other things, right? You just have to hit the end API point. Like there are multiple node operators who've given their end API points. You just have to hit the data that you get from your front end into these end API points, and that will effectively be pushed into the blockchain ecosystem by the miners, right? So if you want to build on DSO, I would definitely urge you to check out this website called as hub.deso.org, because you just have to know the front end stack and you can start effectively building on top of it. So that is with respect to the builder's perspective. So this was just a brief that I gave you here, but if you want to know more about this ecosystem, like what it is trying to do, or the vision and the purpose of it, I would urge you to go to this website called as deso.org. So it has like a brief on what DESO is and other things, and the different applications being built on top of it. And there, just click on the vision button for DESO. And if you click that, you have about an article which is about a 10-minute read, where they give you a much in-depth analogies with analogies and understanding for getting you into the DESO ecosystem. So I would definitely urge you to check out DESO docs, like the vision page on the deso.org website, where you will understand this ecosystem in a much better way than what I explained today. Right. So that was it from my side. Maybe we can jump into the question and answer session. But before that, I will just answer the questions that are asked already on on the chat box, right? Just give me a second. So yes, Skandesh has asked me, I get the idea of decentralization, but current social media produces petabytes of data per day. Thus, DESO protocol maintains consistency on that scale, right? So what I can, like, if you check out the DESO docs, right, there is an explanation for this specific question, where they've answered with numbers for the scale that they can handle today, right? Because obviously, like, nobody, even Facebook couldn't have handled this scale when back in 2004, right? And obviously, the scale of the current social media, the entire scale will not just jump into decentralized social media as of today, right? So just to give you the numbers there, currently DESO can support 4 million users. And this is with respect to the scale that Twitter has currently, right? So the number of transactions that happen on Twitter, like the number of tweets and the other transactions that happen on Twitter, considering that scale, so DESO can effectively handle the scale of 4 million users today. But they have a clear cut roadmap through which they want to scale with respect to sharding and other things. So it's not tested yet, and they just want to move into complete proof of stake by the end of this quarter. Like, that is at least in the roadmap. I'm not sure how effectively they'll move into complete proof of stake as such. But once that happens, they want to focus on all of the other protocol, like the other techniques, like increasing the block size or sharding and other things. But with respect to this, I'm super excited. Like, this is just off topic. I'm super excited about Shardium as such, because they claim that they have achieved linear scalability with dynamic state sharding. So do check out about Shardium, where I think if they've actually achieved that, that is like one of the biggest achievements in this landscape, right? So that is with respect to your question. But if you want the exact numbers and in-depth analysis on this, do check out DESO docs. Maybe just check out DESO docs on Google itself. You just have to type DESO docs, and the first link there will take you into the documentation for DESO, and the exact section is a simplified scaling roadmap for DESO. So do check out that if you want to know more, right? So how does DESO prevent cyber attacks so the diamonds would be given in a fair manner? All right, you don't have to go into cyber attacks as such for giving diamonds in a fair manner, right? Cyber attack is far different than giving diamonds in a fair manner. So I'll just explain what diamonds mean specifically and how they operate first, so that you will understand better on things there. So what diamonds is it's just so just understand the concept of likes first, right? So what are likes? It's just giving a heart in the sense the click of a button, right? It's just increasing that count there. But what diamond is it's just working just like likes. But when somebody gives a diamond on another person's post, the transfer will happen from their wallet to the other person's wallet, right? And there are different levels of diamonds. So level one diamond is 20 paise, level two diamond is 2 rupees, level three diamond is 30 rupees, and level four diamond is more like a 10 times increase in that price. But all the transactions will happen natively in DESO. But these are the numbers that I just gave, and when it is converted into the fiat, that is Indian rupee. But the transaction will happen natively in DESO, and this is a far better value proposition than likes itself, right? Yes. So yeah, there was another question asked. So yes, there's no concept of cyber attacks as such, because DSO is like whenever somebody gives a diamond, it's not the token that is coming from DSO itself. It's coming from that person's wallet, right? So only if I like another person's content, or if I'm connected with that person in a very good way, I would be giving him diamonds, right? So the concept of cyber attacks will not come here specifically. So this is the concept of diamonds as such. So I think since you're giving from your own wallet as such, it would definitely be in a fair manner according to me. But then this question is not asked, but I will just answer that specifically as well. So the next question that might pop up in your mind is, why will people give diamonds itself, right? Because why will I pay for somebody other's content? So there are three things that I want to answer here. But before that, I would like to ask a question in return there. So why do people give likes on Instagram? Right? If you understand that, it would be far easier to understand this. So the main reason that people give likes on Instagram is because they, again, they connect with that post, or they find it valuable, or they find it has some quality. And if at all you're friends with that person, you would give likes on Instagram, right? So that is how Instagram likes work. So now coming to the concept of diamonds again. Why would people give diamonds? Again, if they like that content, or if they find it valuable, or if you're connected with that other person, you would give diamonds. And it's effectively like close to zero itself, right? It's just giving 20 paise. But then you have a strong bond and a stronger connect with the other person, right? So that is why people give diamonds on this application. And the other thing is, since the post that you make from one app, so just to give you facts here, so just sorry, yeah, I'm really sorry, there was a pop-up there. So just to give you facts here, there is one person who's a final year engineering student and from Bangalore, and he's earned about 20,000 rupees in 100 days on my app, right? And I've not paid anything, or this person has not made any investments in the application or on DSO as such. So what he does is just post random things or any ideas that he may have on this application, like just what people do on Instagram, right? Like they just post stories and other things. And since the post that he makes on my app goes across the entire ecosystem of apps being built on top of DSO, so people on other apps can give him diamond as well, right? So that is the main source of revenue that he's got 20,000 rupees from. So any person from any app, like the data from that can be visible across the entire ecosystem of apps. So now the advantage is you don't have to build the community from ground up. So let's say if at all I had built an app on another protocol like Ethereum or Solana as such, it would just be my app, right? So I will have to get in all the users from scratch. But on DSO, there is already a thriving community there. So you just have to build an app with different purposes and things. Yeah. Hello. Yes. You just have to build an app for different purposes, and you don't have to build a community from scratch. It's just posting and connecting with others, and you can get diamonds, create coins, and create NFTs where which other people might find valuable, right? So that is with respect to the diamond concept again. So the next question I see is it required that we run our own node for developing or deploying our application? So I did answer this during my session there. But just to answer it again, no, you don't have to run your own node for developing or deploying application, because the core team or the foundation team does run its own node, and it is hosted at a place like you can go to hub.deso.org or to get a view of that. And if you just jump into their Discord server, you can find multiple people who are building different apps for different purposes, and they're definitely willing to give their node endpoints to which you can directly connect. And the main reason people run nodes is for the transaction fee itself, right? So if you want to get that transaction fee into your wallet, like based on the number of users you have, then people would run nodes. And even I don't run my node as of today, right? I hit the DESO Foundation's team or endpoint itself, but if at all I get users at scale, then obviously I would run my own node at that point of time, right? So that is with respect to the question there. And yes, the last point is in today's every action is a transaction and we need to sign for it. Yeah, so the last question that Sandesh has asked is, in today's crypto apps, so every action is a transaction and we need to sign for it. Is it similar in DSO, like every post comment has to be signed? So yes, I'll just start off with the transaction part itself, right? Like I did not touch upon that. So every action on DSO is a transaction itself, like making a post, commenting, liking, diamonding, everything is a transaction. So every transaction will cost like have a transaction fee associated with it, and it's super low on DSO, right? It's 0.7 paise as of today, and people will not even get to know. So the person that I mentioned, right, who earned 20,000 rupees, he's paid about 600 to 700 rupees in transaction fee, and he will effectively not get to know that he's paid this as well, right? The transaction fee will be collected after every transaction, right? So that is with respect to the transaction fee part. But coming to your question specifically, do we need to sign it? No, you don't have to. So they have this concept of derived keys. Like I can get into the depth of that, but it would definitely confuse most of the users here. But I would urge you to learn, like read about derived keys in their documentation. Like it's just a one-page read, like a 3 to 4 minutes read, where the node operators, right? So just to explain in very high level, the node operators can sign transactions on behalf of the users, right? So that is the concept of derived keys, and they don't have to share their seed phrases as well. So when they log in into the node, any node specifically, like you can show them a prompt asking for for creating 100 transactions on behalf of the users, right? So that is the concept of derived keys, but they have multiple security purposes for that. Maybe if you check out the DESO documentation, you will get to know that in a better way. Yes, like the derived keys are a super interesting concept, Skandesh. So please do check out about that. So the next question that I see is what are the challenges in the decentralized social media ecosystem, right? The main challenge, like I can give my learnings itself, right? I have 300 downloads with 100 plus active users on my app. But the biggest challenge that I face is after a 10 to 15-day time period, right? People just drop off because when they enter this ecosystem, it's super new and they can start earning on day one itself. But after 10 to 15 days, this 5 rupees, like the average that I've seen that people earn per post is 10 to 20 rupees, right? And in a month, it will effectively become 200, like 500 to 600 rupees. But then there are like at least 70 to 80% of the population will just drop off after the 10 to 15 day period because it gets kind of boring and the incumbents, that is the traditional monopolies, have just perfected their algorithms to such an extent that they keep you hooked on their apps, right? They know more about you than your own family members. And obviously they've been in the space for about 10 to 15 years and they know about what your interests are and other things, and they already have such humongous amounts of content, and obviously people will obviously jump back into the ecosystem. So this landscape right now is, it's just about decentralization and pushing out Web3 and other things. And the major people who might be interested at this point of time would be builders, developers, and somebody who's actually interested in Web3 and so, right? Because obviously you cannot expect getting 5,000 rupees per post on day one, but that is what people are actually expecting, or that is what the mainstream audience expect when they jump into this ecosystem. So that is one challenge. And the other is with respect to scaling the blockchain itself, because DESO again, like it's not completely proof of stake. They're trying to move into proof of stake and things. And there are other protocols like that is Lens protocol, where it will cost you about 2 to 5 rupees to make a post, and Farcaster is still in development and things, right? So yes, these are some of the challenges, and only if you can build that blockchain in a scalable way for the end users that they don't even know that this is on a blockchain. I think that is the point at which we can actually solve the problem of decentralizing social media as such. But like if you had to, like if at all this question was specifically about how difficult would it be to create a social media application itself on decentralized social media, I would say it is kind of super difficult at this point of time, because the other side of the spectrum, that is the Web2 stack, is super strong, right? And they are billion-dollar industries. Sorry, they are trillion-dollar industries with billion people on it, and they know much more about users as such. So only if there's an application which can actually shock and awe people such that it can get in a lot of users at one single point of time, and if at all the content there is personalized to the users, and if at all people find it very easy to use, and the other one would be personalization or discovery as such, and ease of use and things, right? Only if they follow this approach, I think we can actually create decentralized social media application as such. So those were the two answers that I would like to give you. One on the decentralizing economy, like the ecosystem itself, and the other one is building a decentralized application on top of it, right? So Ratnakumar here is asking a general question. So he's a web developer with some understanding of centralized architectures and how do I get into decentralized stuff and blockchain and kinds of things. What I would say is just jump into DESO itself. So as I said, go to this, like on Google, if you want to search, it's DESO docs. The first link there would be your entry point. Just read that completely because that would definitely be your best way into the blockchain, Web 3.0, and other ecosystem as such. Like, because if you read about blocks like Bitcoin and Ethereum, they are general purpose. And like if you actually know about development and decentralizing and things, then obviously you will be awestruck with that. But without knowing about those things, I would say just read this DSO documentation so that you will get a broader view on what is happening in the social media landscape and how you could decentralize and what are the benefits of that. But then after that, I would say just jump into hub.deso.org, right? Because you just have to know React. Since you say you are a web developer, I think you would be familiar with React or Angular and things, right? So if you just know React, they have like 4 lines of code through which you can build your own application. And most of the apps on the DSO ecosystem is open sourced as well. So Diamond app is open sourced, bitcloud.com is open sourced, and you can just look at their codes. Just give me a second. There is, yes, so Gopal Swami just posted the link there. So that is the developers hub link. It's just 4 lines of code that you have to integrate, and you can create your own application as easily as possible. So now you are effectively learning about Web3, and you're getting to know about blockchains, and you're actually building an application as well, right? So I would say just start off with DESO itself, because I've seen a lot of people who knew nothing about Web3, crypto, blockchain, and things, and they just jumped into this ecosystem, and they know far more about all of these things that are popping up, right? So just jump into the DESO ecosystem, and once you get once you get exposure into it, I would say you can then jump into other ecosystems like Ethereum, Solana, or Bitcoin as such, right? So the next question is, what's the daily average time of usage in your app? It is kind of low, like 10 to 15 minutes is what people use. Uh, that is what they do there. But most of the transaction is from posting and things itself, right? And during the initial days, it's super high. Like we have this Discord community as well, through which I connect with my users and just talk to them and understand what are the issues that they face and things. But yeah, like I've not raised any funding and things, so that is why I'm taking the other approach, right? So just to explain on that part, even if I raise funding and do things, obviously I will not be able to compete at the scale of Facebook and Instagram as such, right? Because they have already a billion people on it with $1 trillion industry there. So the next thing that I could fight against, like one vertical is the content vertical, and the other vertical is community vertical, where if you give ownership of your application back to the users, and if at all the revenue generated from that app is given back to the users based on the transactions that they do, then obviously people will be far more interested, right? Because you cannot fight these big tech monopolies on the grounds of content, because they've just perfected their algorithms. They have so much content, they have so much data, and they show such exciting content that they keep you hooked on their apps. So the only other vertical through which you can actually fight is on the community vertical. So that is what I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to build a group of people, like at least, let's say 300, 250 to 300 people, after which I want to effectively set out the ground rules and procedures such that nobody can abuse the system. And what we are trying to do is build a community owned application with shared governance and revenue. So that is what I'm trying to do. Yeah, I will definitely share with you the Discord link for that, and then you can check it out there, right? So that was with respect to my topic today.
So, any other question, guys? Any more questions or any other? Uh, so I do have a question, Amog. So my question would be,
Yes.
nowadays the social media is a kind of, especially let's take an example, like in India, something happens, the people is going to some riots or whatever it is, so they're gonna post something on the media. So how, if suppose let's take an example, it's completely decentralized, which means no one is going to have a control over it. So how you are going to control any allegation or any such riots or something is happening through your DESO means? So how the control would be? So how are we gonna stop those things?
Yes, got it. So to answer that question, again, I would go back to the ecosystem part itself. So that was why I explained the ecosystem clearly, where DESO is the blockchain and people can create apps on top of it, right? These are called nodes. And all of this, yeah, there was a question asked, sorry. All of these people can effectively control what they put into the blockchain, right? You can put all of the data on the blockchain, but again, they don't have to show it to the front end, right? Like, let's take the example of my app specifically, right? So let's say I grow it to a sufficient large number of audience, and because of my app there is a riot created. So now what I can do is I can just take down that post. Like, there is no restriction that I cannot take down that post, right? Because I just have to change the front end part, but the data is still on the blockchain, right? So that is what is happening. So now what will happen is basically it's just on the different spectrums for decentralization. That is, obviously the government could call certain people who are wrong and things, and certain times they could be correct, but on other points of time they could be wrong as well, right? We've seen this play out in multiple scenarios. So what is effectively happening here is the data is still on the blockchain, and people can use that data on multiple other different apps. But this app, that is my app specifically, I can just take down that content, and people don't have to fight against my app itself. That is the main problem that Twitter is facing today, right? Like, when the government asks them to take down that content, Twitter is not ready to take down that content because they want to value privacy, decent, like, value the content that is being put there. But let's say if at all the data there is effectively decentralized, now Twitter can take down the content without any problem, and the user can still access that content on another app, right? So this company right now, that is Twitter, will not face any problem with respect to that because they've effectively taken down that content, and they're not in touch with that content anymore, right? But then it's still on the blockchain where people people who are the true owners of that content effectively own that content right now,
Got it.
right?
So
So
I got another question. So let's take an example. If I'm joining your application, okay. So I want more diamonds. Then what happens if I post 1,000 or 2,000 posts in a single day? So either through a bot or something, even me myself. So what happens? How you gonna control such activities or such behavior from DISO?
right, like, I don't see the problem there if you post a lot of post using APIs, right? Because you will have to pay a transaction fee for that. And the concept of diamonds, as I said again, is somebody giving you diamonds on your post. So even if you post 2,000 posts, only if others like your content, or if they relate with that content, you will get diamonds, right?
Got it.
So let's say if you make 2,000 posts there, and if you multiply that with zero point 0.7 paise, it's effectively 200 into 7 paise, right? Which is 1,400, and you will have to pay 15 rupees to make the post there. Like, you just have to pay that fees to make the post. But if at all it's just spam and things, people will not diamond that. So there is effectively the community itself which is giving the diamonds from their wallet. So that is how it's being governed there. But
Yeah.
again, like, if at all you spam my node, and if there is a lot of activity from your side which I think is irrelevant, then I could effectively blacklist that person on my node specifically. So even that option is there right now.
Got it. So how the transaction is going to work? Is that like similar to the Ethereum gas price or gas limit, or it has a own way of mechanism? So for the transaction.
So I didn't get that specifically,
No,
like
no.
how.
Basically, the Ethereum will have a sort of transaction fee. So let's take an example of gas limit is going to be 21,000 for a basic transaction. So is that transaction is limit? I mean, similar to DESO is similar to use that type of transaction, or it has a own mechanism for calculating those transaction fees.
So now what they do is there are node operators like the miners who push into the ecosystem, right? And they set fees based on their valuability and things. But then again, node operators can set fees based on their operations as well. So some nodes will cost you 7 paise to make a post. Other nodes will cost you, like, the highest that I have seen is 10,000 transactions for one DSO. So that is the highest transaction fee that I have seen. But the core nodes endpoint will cost you about 100, no, it's 1 million transactions per DSO, right? So it's effectively not just like Ethereum, because on Ethereum you just have miners there, but here you have two entities. That is one the miners, and the other one is the node operators itself. So both of them take fees, and then it is effectively pushed on to the echo blockchain.
Okay, got it, got it. So how
Yes.
you are saying like in a INR, right? So how this transaction fees is going to be, whether through crypto or some you have your own way of calculation or something. So you're saying
Okay.
7 paisa
So
is like that. So,
correct, correct. So all of these fees that I'm mentioning, you will actually get it on DSO itself. So the number that I mentioned, right? This is what I commonly see, like 100,000 transactions, you will have to pay one DSO. But DSO is listed on multiple exchanges, and it's effectively free market again. Like the price is not controlled by anybody. And the current price of, like, the exchanges that DSO is listed are sndx.com, blockchain.com, Coinbase, and multiple others. Like these are the prominent ones. And there are rumors that it might come on Binance as well. Like don't quote me on that, but I've heard that people telling that. But yeah, the current price on Coinbase itself is $8 per DSO, and that is like zero point 0.1 paise or $0.1 is the change that we see on different exchanges. But it's $8 to $9 per DSO today.
got it. So right now,
So that is
this
that
is,
is the yeah.
right now DESO is working on POW concept or POS or stay they are
So
moving.
they work, yeah, they work on a proof of work itself, but they want to move into complete proof of stake by the end of this quarter. So they've implemented like something known as hypersync, through which they can effectively sync all the nodes and the data that is there. So that was one of the first steps that they took to move into complete proof of stake. And there are multiple other things that are there in the pipeline to move completely. And it's just 8 months old, right? It's like asking Ethereum in 2015, or seeing Ethereum in 2015 or so. So
Got it.
that's how young DESO is today. And there are a lot of things that still needs to happen on the blockchain side as well. But there is one foundation team and multiple people working on that specifically. And yeah, it's kind of super interesting as well.
Yeah, understood. So my
Yeah.
last question would be, so you mentioned like you are going to like DESO is going to move from POW to POS, which is proof of stake. So they are directly moving to POS 2.0 or like the current version, POS first version.
So is this with respect to the Ethereum merge and
No, no,
POS
at
2.0
different.
that
So
you're
you are
asking?
saying right now they are in PO, proof of work concept. So they are going to move to proof of stake. So in some other days, maybe in couple of years. So when they goes, what like whether they go for 2.0, I mean proof of stake 2.0, or they will move to the old one which is currently running. What's your idea on that?
Right. Like there are no roadmaps as such that is pushed out on this specific thing.
Okay.
but like I think I wouldn't be the right person. But maybe like the only thing that we know is by the end of this quarter or the next one, we might move into complete proof of stake. Like there are no other implementations or anything that has been pushed out by the foundation team on this thing.
Got it. Thank you.
So
Thank you,
yeah,
Momo. So, Mani Bharati, you
yeah.
have
So
over to you. You can ask your
yes,
question.
sure. So
Yeah,
one
yeah,
last
hello.
question there.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi man.
Yeah. Actually, I'm from a physics background. So actually, I'm interested in learning blockchain. I'm seeing YouTube videos in, on blockchain. So actually, I want to enter this field. How do I do it? I don't have a CSD, computer science degree.
Okay, got it.
That is my question.
Got it. Got it. Awesome. So it's definitely not a requirement that you have to have a computer science degree as such as well, right? Because you have a lot of information that is out there today in the world that you can effectively use to learn about blockchains and things. But if at all I had to give you a roadmap, I would say since you say that you don't know anything about development and other things or computer science as such, I would say start off with front end development. So just learn about learn React or Angular and things. I would say start with React itself. Maybe if you want the course specifically as well, it's called as Scrimba. It's Scrimba. So on that, you have paid courses and you have free courses as well. Maybe just check out free courses in the first place, where you can learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React freely. And it's effectively learning by doing, right? So that is something that I feel is one of the significant advantages of Scrimba, because that course structure is designed in such a way that they push you to code. And I feel learning by doing is the best way through which you can actually get practice out of things. Like on YouTube and things, what people effectively do is they just watch videos and they just copy the code directly there. But here the course itself is structured in such a way that you can you will have to do things to move on to the next challenge and stuff, right? And they force you to do those stuff there. So maybe just check out Scrimba, and it is free for these four courses specifically. But there is one other path called as front end. What was it called? It's front end development path, I believe. So if you just sign up for that with like there are scholarships and things, or you can take the monthly subscription as well. It will cost you about 800 rupees or so. So you can just go through that path completely. And once you're familiar with front end stack, right? I would say if you want to jump into DESO, just like go into hub.deso.org, because after you learn React, you will get to know far better on how to implement things very easily. Or if you want a community of people to build together and learn easily, I would say go to Build Space. It's BILDSPACE. So Build Space is one of the largest home for Web3 developers, and they have courses on multiple blockchains as well. So they have courses for Solana, for Ethereum, and other things. So even they practice learning by doing. So that is something that I would urge you to do. Like even if it's not something that you follow what I say, but please learn by doing. Like practice is the best way through which you can learn quickly and become a far better developer than the other way around, right? So just start writing code, and the roadmap would be learn front end technologies first, and then understand a specific blockchain, like let's say DESO or Ethereum or Solana, and then learn about the broader ecosystem as such. So that would be my answer to your question.
Yeah, thank you, Amogh. Yeah.
So, sure. So back to you, Gopal. So,
So, any more questions, guys? So it's time to close. So, any more questions? So I'll give you a closure note. So thanks for joining us today. We learned a lot from you, especially on the DESO part. So I'm on to blockchain right now. I'm in security part. So, but still I learned a lot more because a lot more things are coming. So the thing which we are seeing today is not only the blockchain. So there are much more things to learn. So thanks for letting us know that, and we are expecting more sessions from you in future. So hope will that will happen. So thanks a lot on behalf of every participants, and
Awesome.
thank you for joining us. Thank you everyone for joining us
Awesome.
today, and it was pleasure to have you all, and hope to see you all in our upcoming events as well. So thank you once again. Bye bye. Take care, everyone.
Bye, guys. It's definitely my pleasure as well to be here today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome
Thank
then.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
You too. You too. Bye. Take care.